like many of you, love learning languages. And sometimes there's a bug in the room, but sometimes I feel a little bit discouraged, demotivated, and or burnt out. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the methods that I've been using to sort of sneak languages into my day in a way that makes me feel more motivated, inspired, and excited to continue learning the language. So this isn't so much about dedicated study time, so much as it is ways to incorporate languages into your day. The key here that you will find, the through line of it all, is find things that you enjoy doing and do them in foreign languages. I'll show you what I mean, and I'm going to put this in the framework of a typical day. So let's start with waking up. So for me, I wouldn't say that I'm a morning person. And if I know that the next morning I'm going to have to wake up and do this really difficult thing, like study a language and make flashcards and things like that, I'm not going to look forward to waking up. So I like to put something really nice in the morning. I like waking up and having a nice, delicious cappuccino, oat milk cappuccino, and reading. Right now, I'm reading short stories in German. In a previous video, I talked about this. When I'm having my delicious hot oat milk cappuccino, I'm reading this book. The key here is twofold. Number one, read something that is at your level / slightly higher. So as you're reading, you're understanding the majority of what you're consuming. This will lead to you feeling good about yourself while still learning. And also, I recommend books like this that are designed for learners because within the book itself, you will find vocab lists and multiple choice questions at the end of the chapters to reinforce what you've learned. So that's the first point. Read something that makes you feel good, but also read something that interests you. Don't just find a random book in your target language and try to read it. I mean, if you really want to, you can. But I recommend finding a book, perhaps a book that you read a long time ago in your native language and love, so you already know a bit of the context and how the story unfolds, or a book in a genre you adore. This will make you crave progression. You will want to keep reading, and you just happen to be reading in your target language. Again, the book should be at your level or just slightly above. Once I'm a little bit more advanced in German, I'm going to be reading Harry Potter in German. That is my goal. At least the first Harry Potter book, because that's very basic. This can even be reading articles online or social media posts, as long as the content is something you actively want to be reading. Because if you don't have that pull from the content itself, the subject matter itself, this is going to feel like work. And you don't want it to feel like work. These short stories are really good at this, I find. Each story makes me want to find out what happens, and so I want to go back to my book. I want to continue and see how the story unfolds. So this is how I start my mornings, in a relaxing way, with a delicious cup of coffee, and because I love to read, a wonderful book in my target language that keeps me interested. So at no point am I feeling like, ugh, I don't want to do that, you know? And nothing puts me in a better mood than finding that I'm reading a story in another language? What? Name a better way to start the day. I'll wait. Not really, because we need to continue, but let me know in the comments below. So that's how I wake up. Next up is something that's not super fun for me, but I do it anyway, which is going to the gym. If you don't go to the gym, maybe this could be your morning commute. This could be something you do on your morning walk or whatever. We're going to talk about music. So while I'm at the gym, despite focusing on other things like trying to lift heavy weights, I also am trying to learn as I go. And I do that by listening to music in my target language. I'm going to break down how I do this. I feel like this method works, so let me try to explain my method. My method is repetition. So for example, I have a playlist of German songs that I've found. Every single time that I go to the gym, I start at the first song, and I let the entire playlist play all the way through. It sort of is exactly the amount of time that I am at the gym, so it sort of works out perfectly. The first time that I heard these songs, I chose them because I thought the melodies were good and I didn't really understand a single word. But the more that I studied German outside of the gym, the more that I would learn new vocabulary. And then I'd find that going back and listening to these songs, I began to recognize words. And doing this, learning on the outside and then repetition by playing these songs through every time, I now am finding that I'm understanding entire songs, which is insane because I know for a fact that when I first added these songs to my playlists, nothing. This all seems obvious, but I'm not done. Let me continue. Everything goes hand in hand. Let me give you an example. I read this story in the short stories for beginners. It has to do with Vikings finding a new land, not to give any spoilers. And in this story, one of the Vikings, the word is zweifeln. That, if you look at the vocab list, means to question or to doubt. So I learned that word in the context of this book. Then one day, I'm at the gym and I'm listening to the songs on my playlist, and I'm listening to this song, and I realize, wait a minute. I just learned that word, or a word that sounds just like that, and I could understand the lyric. I will never forget that word. I've seen it twice in 2 different places in context, because lyrics provide context. You're actually hearing the word within the context of some sort of story, whatever the song is about. And my life has changed. Maybe that's dramatic. But not only that, but in between my sets, and I realize that I sound like such a gym girl right now, but I'm not. When I'm not doing the exercise and I'm just sitting there, I take that opportunity to pull out my phone and read the lyrics as they go. And a lot of times, I will actually take the time then to do something active, which is go over to Google Translate and look up words. Usually this is when a word seems very vital to the meaning of the lyric, and I just find I can't understand what they're talking about if I don't look up this word. That's when I'll look it up. So now that helps me the next time when I go to the gym and I come across that song again, I'll have looked it up and I'll hear it again and I'll recognize it, and it's this repetition that will make it stick. Oh, and also you can practice your output by singing along. Or trying to, in my case. So let's say I'm back from the gym, or you're done with your car ride, or you're done with your walk, or what have you, wherever you listen to music. Eventually, you're going to want to eat something. So for me, what I like to do while I eat is I pop on over to YouTube, and I find content creators whose content I enjoy watching in my target language. These, for me, are things like vlogs, travel vlogs, and daily lifestyle vlogs I find to be very useful in terms of the vocabulary that I'm trying to learn. And since we're talking about YouTube, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, giving this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, would really help me out. So remember what I said about finding content that you enjoy. If you are super into baking, find baking YouTubers in your target language and watch that content. That way, you're watching something that you find interesting, and the language is the way to be able to consume that content. So you're motivated by the content, and the language is going to become a necessary part of consuming that exciting content for you. Remember, we're looking for things that naturally inspire us to want to keep learning the language. If you put on the world's most boring documentary about staplers, watching that video and having to learn the vocabulary for that video is going to seem like work. We don't want that. I love horror. If I'm gonna put on a video, maybe I'll find a YouTuber talking about the latest horror movie in Spain. So I'm interested in what they're talking about, in addition to the language that they're using. With German, I'm at a lower level, so I'll watch more like slow German vlogs, and these are again lifestyle vlogs, maybe walking around Berlin, which is content that I want to watch because I like Berlin. Also watch things like Easy German and things from Deutsche Welle, things like Nikos Weg, things designed for German learners at my level. Just focus on trying to understand the content and write things down if you feel that it's super useful vocabulary and you're going to come across it a lot and you want to remember it. Maybe write it down. Otherwise, again, just focus on understanding. At some point in my day, I like to try to communicate with a native speaker, and that is way more easily said than done, especially for most of us who don't always have contacts who speak natively the language that we're trying to learn. I am super lucky in that my mother speaks Spanish. My whole life, we've only ever talked to each other in English, hence me needing to learn this language. So I have tried to incorporate phone calls with her into my day where we speak in Spanish. Lately, I've had her ask me some sort of question, and then I will talk for as long as I can, giving an answer. If you don't know a native speaker of the language that you're trying to learn, there are ways to find them. Either find a teacher online and take a lesson. That can get expensive, depending on the language that you're learning especially, but in a lot of places you can adjust by price and hopefully find something in your price range. If not, there are other ways. Number 1, search language meetup in the city that you're in and your target language. You can always start a group. All speakers of Japanese, we can meet once a week at this cafe. We can all practice. All levels welcome. But you can also use things like friend finding apps. I myself have used Bumble BFF, and you can actually filter by language, which means you can find people who speak the language that you're trying to learn. This is amazing, especially if you're in a big city where there are more people from different countries. Odds are you're going to find someone. This has been an amazing tool in my life. I've met so many people who speak the languages that I want to learn. There are also websites designed for this, different hubs of people trying to learn. You can find someone out there to practice with. And if not, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but you can write back and forth with AI. I don't know what the future is, man. Everything's crazy. Okay, so the last thing I'll do in my day is sometimes both, but I'll just say either. Either I'll want to watch something on TV or I'll want to look at my phone / scroll on my phone. So I'll put on a series in Spanish or a series in German, and I will have subtitles in those languages. So I'll watch a Spanish show with Spanish subtitles, a German show like Dark with German subtitles, and try to follow along. Again, really only stopping and looking things up if it feels like a really important word and I'm just not getting it. Otherwise, I just keep trying to understand and recognize words as I go. The shows that I choose are shows that I find interesting. A while ago, years ago at this point, I watched a show called Gran Hotel in Spanish, and it was so dramatic and I just wanted to keep watching and I became obsessed with the show. So back to the through line, that was something that I inherently wanted to be watching, and it just happened to be in Spanish. So I need to use Spanish to consume that exciting content. We want to find things that we want to watch. So either I will watch something on TV or I'll look at my phone. And on my phone, and on your phones too, you can train the algorithm to show you content in the language that you're learning. You do this by consuming content in the language that you're learning, and then it does something. I don't even know. So I can scroll on my phone, and even though I'm being completely unproductive, I'm still kind of learning because it's forcing my brain to try and follow the language. And honestly, this, out of all of the things I've mentioned, is the most difficult for me because on social media, people speak so quickly. So on the one hand, it's a good thing because I'm being forced to practice, and also I'm getting exposed to the jokes and the memes and whatnot of the language / culture that I'm interested in. But also sometimes it gets so overwhelming that I just shut off my phone, which is amazing. It's a win-win. So those are the things that I do every single day. One thing I'm going to try to start doing is journaling, which I don't even do in English and I never have, but that seems like a really good way to get some output going in a way that's not so high pressure, especially if you can try to incorporate new words that you're learning, things like that. So I will update on that in the future, but I'm sure it will be good. So at the end of the day, the way that you sneak languages into your daily life is by doing things that you enjoy, even if it's low effort. It all adds up. And if you can do this in a way that the content is all stuff that really interests you, you will feel so motivated and so inspired to continue with that language. And every day is amazing. If any of you have tips or tricks for keeping the language alive in your brain, I'd love to read them below in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe as it really helps my channel to grow, and I will see you next time.